Hola, hola a todos. Hoy estamos en nuestro nuevo episodio de CryptOcean. Hoy es un día muy importante porque tenemos aquí un invitado súper especial de una criptomoneda muy famosa en el ecosistema que ha ido evolucionando en todo este tiempo, agarrando un montón de popularidad y muchos de ustedes les encanta este proyecto, así que este podcast lo van a pasar increíble porque van a tener información específica del proyecto explicado directamente de una fuente súper importante de este mundo cripto. Así que prepárense porque hoy este CryptOcean va a estar increíble. Estoy súper emocionado por hacer este podcast. Aquí tenemos un montón de preguntas que vamos a hacerle aquí a nuestro invitado especial, así que va a estar súper interesante lo que vamos a hablar. Prepárense, va a estar buenísimo. Recuerden, los que están escuchando este podcast en Spotify o Deezer, lo pueden ahí escuchar todo el audio. Va a ser un podcast Spanglish, la mayoría parte en inglés porque pues, nuestro invitado está desde Nueva York y va a comenzar a hablar de todos estos temas y él solo habla inglés, así que vamos a tratar de ir explicando un poquito en español las cosas más importantes de este proyecto de cripto. Pero la mayoría va a ser en inglés, así que los que quieran ver el video también lo van a poder ver en YouTube. En YouTube hay una funcionalidad donde pueden ponerle subtítulos en español, así que los invito a que también nos sigan en nuestra página de YouTube de Abra Latam. Pero hoy, a ver, entremos a nuestro podcast porque estaba ya súper emocionado de estar aquí platicando. Les quiero presentar aquí a John. John, gran amigo mío, y hemos platicado muchas veces y hoy tengo el honor de compartir este podcast junto a él. Y él es del proyecto, adivinen cuál es, adivinen. Es de una criptomoneda que se llama Hedera Hashgraph. Así que hoy vamos a hablar de este proyecto increíble. So welcome, John, to our podcast, CryptOcean. I'm very excited to create this new podcast for the users in Latin America. Now the good news is that we opened the operation in Peru. So we have now Guatemala, we have El Salvador. Now we open Peru, so more Latin American peoples are coming to the crypto world. So that's an awesome news, at least for Invesco. And we are giving access to more people in Latin America to get involved in this crypto world. So welcome, John. Thank you for this time.
Thanks for having me, David. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So John, maybe the best thing is like you can give a little bit of your background, your super knowledge about the crypto world.
Sure. So like you mentioned, right now I'm CFO of Hedera Hashgraph. Hedera Hashgraph is a layer 1 protocol in the crypto space, and we can talk more about that later, of course. But before, I've only been here for about 5 months. Before I joined Hedera, I was Chief Investment Officer at Abra, where I helped set up their whole institutional lending business. Abra launched the Earn product last summer, and I just joined a few months before that so that they can help their depositors earn interest. And before Abra, I was CFO and Chief Investment Officer at Celsius Network, where I joined in the early stages, probably a few months after they launched the product. And when I joined, I also helped set up their institutional lending business so that their depositors can also earn interest. I was there for about a year, where I helped really scale up their business. But before I got into crypto, I was in traditional banking. I was at Citigroup for 10 years and UBS for 2 years. So in banking, I was primarily in the credit trading and investment space. There's this group called Special Situations Group. Basically, it means that anything that's really hard to value or very illiquid, those type of investments, Citigroup purchased or made those type of investments in the market, and I was running the product there in Asia for several years. And then UBS, I did the same thing. Basically, after the Lehman crisis, I bought a lot of their distressed, post-Lehman distressed assets out in Singapore, and did pretty well for UBS back then. But so if you kind of think about my career, it's like the first part, 12 years in traditional banking, doing investments, and then I saw the light, got introduced to Bitcoin in around 2017, and I decided, yeah, this is what I wanted to.
So the future.
Yeah, exactly. I want to devote the next 20 years of my life, or longer. I mean, forever until I die, and in crypto, because this is just a once in a generation type evolutionary leap in human evolution. So, just kind of quick story on that. When I first was introduced to Bitcoin, it didn't make sense to me. I love the technology. The whole decentralization just makes sense, but I didn't like Bitcoin as money because it just didn't make sense to me. We're all programmed a certain way to view dollars as real money, even though it's not really backed by anything. It's just, but when I went away, I just kind of went away for a week and thought about, well, what is money? Money is just whatever people says is money, and it's hard to replicate, right? Back like 10,000 years ago, people used like large round stone discs with, round holes in it. You had to roll it over to your grocery store to get some food. But that was money back then. And now people are just programmed to believe or to use US dollars as money. So I had to kind of unplug myself from the matrix, right? We're like programmed this way to think of dollars as money, think of euros as money, think of, and when you unplug yourself from your day-to-day realities and think about what is money, well, Bitcoin could be money. It is money. It's just something that's really hard to replicate, and people aren't quite there yet, believing that Bitcoin is money, but we will eventually get there, I think. It's just right now, just too many people are programmed to believe that dollars or hard currencies is money. But then, when I had that epiphany, I was like, wow, this is something really amazing, and let's see how the state of play develops over the next couple of decades.
Yeah, and probably it could be Bitcoin or other crypto, right?
It's so I think so Bitcoin has the right pieces to be a store of value, to be a much better replacement of gold. Other cryptocurrencies, it depends, right? It depends. So like for HBAR, for instance, we view this as a utility coin. It's basically used to make API calls to our network. It's not really intended to replace the dollar. It's really intended to for people that want to use the Hedera network, to use it to make calls, to make transactions on the Hedera network. But it's not. Again, it's not really. Now, there's other stable coins that are built on Ethereum and also on Hedera. Those could be used. That's the bridge to kind of eventually get to a fully digitized economy where it's only running on cryptocurrencies. But right now, there's a mixed bags of different tokens out there, and so Bitcoin is probably the best fit for some sort of replacement of the US dollar.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine when I was 2017 to go to a Starbucks and pay with Bitcoin for my coffee. Now, at least in El Salvador, it's happening, right? You can go to Starbucks, you can go to Pizza Hut, you can go to McDonald's, and you can use Bitcoin as a way of payment in the restaurant, right? And that's crazy. And a lot of people now, they think, what? Bitcoin for a money to replace, changing the way of paying with dollars is like as you was saying, like something like a very difficult to imagine, at least maybe for old people. For young people, probably it's easier to get involved in this new way of payment. But for all people, it's like no, I want to have my physical dollar, right?
Use paper. Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but surprisingly, people that are really into Bitcoin and crypto, they don't use Bitcoin to make payments. They don't use Bitcoin to buy pizza or coffee because they think and truly believe that the value of it's going to go a lot higher than where it is in dollar terms. In dollar terms.
Correct.
Okay, so there, the whole story about someone that bought a pizza for like 2 Bitcoin, like 7 years ago or something.
10,000 Bitcoins.
Or 10,000 Bitcoins. It was just
10,000 Bitcoins. Right? It was in 2010.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, the people that are in crypto don't want to use Bitcoin to make average day purchases because right now. And it makes sense because right now people are still for like 95% or 98%, or I don't know exactly what percentage, but the vast majority of people in the world still, transact in dollars. It's their cost, their rent is paid in dollars, their, tuition, their cars, their gas, just everything is paid in dollars. Now there's going to be a tipping point when they start paying, when everyone starts paying in Bitcoin or some other currencies. Right now, let's just use Bitcoin. Then they're going to say, okay, well, now I'm not so concerned that my Bitcoin in dollar terms is going to go up. It probably will, but then people will use less dollars and more Bitcoin at that point. So there's going to be a tipping point where the vast majority of people will stop transacting in dollars and start transacting in Bitcoin. And then that's when you'll see people using Bitcoin more and more for payments because everything else that that they need to live, maybe even their salary will get paid in some other digital currency. So until that happens, not a lot of Bitcoin enthusiasts are going to spend their Bitcoin to pay, to buy coffee.
Yeah, I think you're right because at least for not new users, the people that probably are involved in Bitcoin for a couple of months or years, it's like a crazy to think, okay, I'm going to pay, I don't know, one card for 1 Bitcoin, and probably in December, the Bitcoin is going to be in 100K, probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
So imagine paying 50K for 1 car, and in 3 months, it's going to be 100 for the same car. It's like no, I prefer to have 1 Bitcoin. Probably in December I have 100 and I sell a half, and then I'm gonna buy this new car.
That's right. Yeah, because people still think in dollar terms. Even people that love Bitcoin, they still think in dollar terms. Now there'll be a point when to buy that car, the car manufacturer like Tesla, for instance, they'll probably if they get to a point where they're now buying the parts in Bitcoin. They're paying their employees that put together that car in Bitcoin. Then when that whole supply chain is now paid in Bitcoin, then you'll see people really starting to use Bitcoin for everyday purchases. But right now, people are just like, no, why would I use a Bitcoin? It's going to be $200,000. I don't want to pay $200,000 for Tesla. I'll just use my worthless cash, or whatever. So that's it. We're not quite there yet. I'd be curious to see how long it takes, but I think it will happen at some point.
Yeah, at least for the conclusion is it's a store of value. Bitcoin right now is a store of value. If you are thinking that the price is gonna be, I don't know, 200, 100 or more, it's a store of value. You don't want to use that investment for buying a Big Mac in McDonald's.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, John, and when did you start in the crypto world?
So I got started in 2017. That's when like I mentioned, I had that kind of epiphany. The light kind of went on, and I saw the light, and I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and get involved in crypto and just develop the ecosystem. So that was, and then soon afterwards, some friends and I, we started this company called Alt Lending, where our first product was just to basically lend US dollars and take Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral. And then that was it. But, not much there's been a lot of development, obviously, a lot of development in the past 4 years in crypto. But the sentiment is still the same, in my opinion. What I mean by that is, I think 80% of the people involved in crypto today are in it to trade it, speculate on the price, DeFi, yield farm, earn interest on crypto. The vast majority of people in crypto are doing just that. And the very small minority of people, only 20%, 10-20% in crypto, are looking at using crypto for real world use applications. And so that to me, that's going to change. That's going to change for sure. But it's sad that there's this beautiful technology created, this blockchain technology, and people are just trading it. Like that's the main use for it right now, and it's sad. You can trade tulips. You don't need DLT. You don't need distributed ledger technology to speculate off a price. You can do that with anything. You do that with stocks or, like I said, tulips. They did that with Tulipmania. So, but what drew me to Hedera was that this is one of those projects that are really using their distributed ledger technology for real world use applications.
Maybe you can explain us more about the project, Hedera, the history. Why Hedera is like creating this ecosystem, a new way of this use of the blockchain, right?
Yeah, sure. So Hedera Hashgraph is a publicly, it's a public distributed ledger technology. The technology is called Hashgraph. It was created by Dr. Lehman Baird back in 2016, I believe. And he really wanted to solve a really hard math problem, basically trying to get the high throughput with the highest level security in fast transaction speeds. And what he came up with was this Hashgraph technology. It's not a blockchain. People don't realize this, but it's not a blockchain. What they call it now is a block web, essentially. So instead of like typical blockchains where you're waiting for 50 or 100 different transactions to accumulate, and then you create the new block, and then once you get the proof of work, it gets added to the chain. So with Hashgraph, you don't have to wait for those other transactions to accumulate into one block. Once a transaction is distributed to the node, it gets sent to one node, and then from those nodes, it gets distributed to two other nodes, and not instantaneously, it takes some time, but those transactions are sent throughout the network exponentially. And so the speed of it is remarkably fast. It also, because it is different from other blockchains, it has the highest level of security. It's called asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance. Whereas other blockchains, their security is just BFT, Byzantine fault tolerance. We have the highest level of security. It's asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance. So that's why, because of our fast speeds and high throughput and highest level of security, that's why our network is really viewed as the enterprise-grade network. So a lot of the large companies we're speaking to that are looking to use our network for their blockchain applications, decentralized applications. They're looking to us to be that network of choice. And also, the other thing I want to add is that there's very little risk, practically no risk of us forking, unlike Ethereum or unlike other layer 1 protocols. The governing council is the council. There's about 23 companies, large companies that comprise of our governing council. They're the ones that determine everything from how we deploy our treasury, any kind of upgrades to our network. They are companies like Google, IBM, LG, Nomura. We have a couple.
Boeing.
Yeah, Boeing's on there.
IBM.
Yes, IBM, Denton.
Just to clarify to the audience, this is like a very different in the governance of the crypto, right? Because what you're mentioning is we are having huge companies, like a very famous companies, Google, LG, Boeing, IBM, Tata Communications, these kind of companies working together, right? Like a governance.
Correct.
Maybe, but what's the point to have this governance with these huge companies? Maybe, if you can tell us about that.
Yeah. So all these 23 companies, and some of them are universities actually. So companies and universities. They govern our network. They actually are the LLC members. Hedera Hashgraph is an LLC in the US. They are actually the LLC members. What that means is they own 1/123rd of Hedera Hashgraph. They're the actual owners. But they can't dividend out the tokens. It's in our bylaws where they can't just go and dividend out the tokens themselves. But aside from that, everything else, they actually are the owners of the LLC network. We have room for up to 39 companies. So we're continuing to grow our governing council. But they make very important decisions on our network. So it's like I mentioned, like treasury, how we allocate our treasury, any kind of network upgrades, what kind of services we add on our network. So those are the kind of things that they decide on. Now, it's a pretty diverse group. Yeah, go ahead.
They choose the hosting for the network nodes.
So they do run the nodes themselves. They run the nodes.
They run them.
Yeah, right now.
So nobody can be involved, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Nobody be involved in the nodes. Only the governance council.
No. Boeing actually. Are you talking about Boeing specifically, or are you talking about the? I'm sorry, you got frozen up for a second.
Let's imagine if I wanna run a node in the ecosystem, okay. A simple user around the world can do that job, or only these governance?
Not yet. So right now it's only permissioned nodes, and so right now only the governing council members can run nodes. We do have a plan to open it up and open up to permissioned nodes and then eventually to public nodes. But that's on a roadmap, and it will take some time. Right now, it's just the governing council members that themselves have run the nodes.
Awesome. Yeah. And also they oversee the software, right?
They oversee the
software of Hedera.
Right. Yes. So there's three different types of committees. There's a coin committee that determines the allocation of the treasury. There's a tech committee that determines the upgrades and oversight of the software upgrades and network development. And then we have a regulatory committee, RegCom, that basically looks at the regulatory environment and decide and recommend to the council how best to approach that. So those are the things. Those are the three committees that support the council, and then the council again. We touched upon this, but they're a really diverse set of companies. They're not just tech companies. They're banks. We have 3 banks. We have Shinhan, we have Standard Bank, and we're going to add another bank soon. But I can't mention it yet. So there's several banks. There's law firms. There's tech companies like IBM and Google. And there's also supply chain companies. Avery Dennison is one of them. So the aircrafts, right? Transport, Boeing. So there's a wide, diverse variety of council members. And we wanted that intentionally so that it's not just a group of developers in a room that are deciding what the next upgrade is going to be, or what fees they should charge, whether they should go for proof of stake or whatever. It's not these kind of decisions in a lot of these networks are done by just typically a handful of developers, which I don't think most people realize. So what we wanted is a group of up to 39 companies that are subject matter experts meaning when they vote on a certain upgrade to the network or allocation treasury, they are well informed of all the different factors that go into that decision making. I think nowadays when people stake coins, they delegate their votes to someone. Most of the time, they're not even really understanding what they're voting on. So that could be a little bit dangerous, right? So we wanted, a lot of the subject matter experts to be able to determine the really important decisions to govern our network, and let that be the way that we run our network, essentially.
And how do you think Hedera has helped revolutionize the crypto world?
Well, like I mentioned, it's a unique technology in that it's not a blockchain. It's the Hashgraph technology. That in and of itself is pretty revolutionary because there's a lot of compromise you give by trying to get a really fast network with really high throughput and with really high security. You're always going to be giving up on one of those levers. Hashgraph, look, it's not the fastest. There are other layer 1 protocols that are slightly faster. I think we have probably one of the highest throughputs in terms of transactions per second. We're about 10,000 transactions per second with one shard, and that's throttled down.
Yeah, I was going to say that it probably is not fast. It's not like the faster, but it's super fast.
It's super fast. But there are other networks that claim to be higher. I don't know if we have to really do an apples to apples comparison, because you got to think about whether they're looking at multiple shards or just one shard. But what we can say is we do have definitively highest level of security, that asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant that I was mentioning. So that in and of itself, with a super fast network and high throughput, that to me is pretty revolutionary. Yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned also that the Hedera is involved in decentralized apps. What projects is getting involved the project? If we think like a Bitcoin as a way of comparing to gold, Ethereum for smart contracts, what is Hedera for if we compare in projects?
Yeah. So just like stepping back, I'll get straight to that. But stepping back, we are a third generation DLT, right? So Bitcoin is like generation 1, Ethereum's generation 2. It's great. It's got a lot of usage, but it's got a lot of problems that they're working on. We're generation 3. We're like the other layer 1 protocols that are just more recently new. However, I'll say one thing before I get into the application use. We actually have more transactions than Ethereum. And over the past, we've been live now. We went live about 2 years ago, September 2019. We have now close to 1.7 billion transactions that have been transacted on our network. Ethereum's at about 1.3 billion, and they've been around for 6 years. So in a third of the time, we surpassed Ethereum in terms of the number of transactions. And so that's something that I think a lot of people just don't realize. But so how do we get those large number of transactions? We're just getting started, to be honest. The main usage of our network has been companies that are trying to help their users detect fraudulent clicks on advertisements. That's one use case that we've seen. There's another use case where in the UK, there's a company called Everywhere. They're trying to basically track the COVID vaccine in terms of its temperature and location as it's being distributed. Because as you know, when the vaccine goes over a certain temperature, it spoils a lot quicker, right? So they used our network to record the transaction location temperatures for the COVID vaccine in the UK. There's also a company called Coupon Bureau where they are trying to basically take a lot of the centralization out of coupon usage. whenever you clip a coupon and you use it at your retailer at Walmart or wherever, once that coupon is now being used, they put it into a bin, and then in most cases, not all cases, most cases, they actually take those coupons, ship it to somewhere else, and then they have to count those coupons and then verify
manually.
And then, and while you're waiting, let's say you're buying like some cereal, like General Mills cereal, and now you made a transaction at Walmart. Well, General Mills is not going, they're not getting their full payment until, somebody, Walmart appointed to count those coupons has been counted. So they might have to wait months. Coupon Bureau is trying to bring all that into one decentralized database that can happen in real time transactions, and then General Mills can get their payment immediately. So there's these types of applications of is what's been driving our growth. Now there's going to be more. These are kind of what we call like the small to medium sized type companies that have been using our network. Now the large enterprises, companies that are like our governing council members, those guys have been looking at this now for close to a year. And larger companies move a little slower, and we think in the next several months, some of these applications that these larger companies have been looking at and working on are going to be deployed on our network. And when that starts happening, the number of transactions are going to just skyrocket
to the moon.
Yes, we've surpassed Ethereum, but we're just getting started. This is with like small to medium sized applications. When we get to the large enterprise, real true enterprise size applications, it's really going to pick up the usage of our network quite nicely.
Yeah, as you were saying, like all these projects from these companies, like probably they are looking for speed, security, right? And probably low cost of transactions.
Low cost of transactions, that's right. So our transactions costs are fixed in dollar terms because people still think in terms of dollars, right? So it's for a consensus transaction, it's 1/100th of a penny. That means $0.0001. For a token transaction, meaning if you're transferring a Hedera native token to someone else, it's 1/10 of a penny. So that's $0.001. And so because of the price of the HBAR fluctuates, every hour our network converts how many HBARs you need to make a transaction in dollar terms. So, if whether the HBAR goes to like $1 or $10, it'll always be fixed in terms of dollar terms for one transaction. 1/100th of a penny for HCS and 1/10 of a penny for HTS.
Wow, it's amazing. I think it's like a cheaper comparing to Tron or XRP.
Yeah, I think, right? Yeah. So they're also cheap too, but if their transaction fee is tied to just the token itself and not in terms of dollars, then it's going to fluctuate quite a bit. So I mean, we've seen the problems with Ethereum. Ethereum, it's cost more than my wire now. I'd rather go use Citibank than Ethereum.
Yeah, correct.
Coins on Ethereum.
Imagine buying an NFT and pay $80 for that, right?
It's just insane. So. We've seen these types of problems, and we think we can price our transactions cheaply because we see the size of the volume of transactions that are going to be on our network in the pipeline. So,
and do you see projects like NFTs happening in Hedera or?
Yes, so we do have a couple of partners that we're working with to build out their NFT ecosystem. So Galaxy is one. Galaxy it stands for Creators Galaxy. It's Galaxy with a C. Started by an NBA basketball player, Spencer Dinwiddie, who is on the Brooklyn Nets. So he started Galaxy, and he's working with us to build his platform on Hedera. So he's just one example. He's a great partner. We have a lot of friends there, actually former employees, actually went from Hedera to Galaxy as well. But there's several others that are working with us to build their NFT platform on Hedera.
Wow, that's awesome, John. Imagínense, toda esta información que nos está diciendo John es increíble. Casi que me dan ganas de ir ahorita a abrir mi billetera de Abra y comprar un pocos de H-Bars ahí. Pero es increíble. La verdad que les recomiendo a todos los que están escuchando este podcast que vayan a YouTube y vean esto por si quieren verlo despacio, con subtítulos, quieren regresar. Es súper información valiosa. So, Young, let's start like the funny time of the podcast. Let's begin with a couple of questions like for beginners, right? But if you had like to start $10,000, you're a beginner, right? You don't have crypto. What could be your mix in your portfolio with $10,000?
Yeah, so I would definitely buy a little Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum. You know, Ethereum, given its problems, they are doing some upgrades to make it a little bit better. But it is kind of like the de facto, it's the network of choice for now, if you will. But that's going to change. So, just to answer your question, I would buy a little bit Bitcoin, a little Ethereum, maybe like 25, 30%, maybe 30% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, and then the other 50%. And again, this is just not meant.
Yeah, not financial advice.
I want to give that disclaimer because, you know.
Don't worry. I always say that at the beginning and at the end of the podcast.
I should have said at the beginning too, but yes. But yeah, maybe 30% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum. The other 50%, what I would do is I would buy like maybe the top 5 or 6 layer 1 protocols, and maybe even some layer 2s as well. So, you know, because look, we're a layer 1 protocol. I firmly believe that not one layer 1 protocol is not going to be the winner. It's not going to be winner take all. There's going to be a handful, maybe like 3 or 4 that ultimately, right now, there's like, you know, more than 100, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be like 3 or 4.
Shiba Inu is in top 20.
Yeah, that's not even, I don't even know what to do with that. It's like, they just created that because they wanted to give Vitalik a whole bunch of Shiba.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, I don't know what you do with that, honestly. But so yeah, I buy the top 5 or 6, maybe of layer 1 protocols. Okay, things like Hedera or HBAR, things like maybe Solana or Algorand or Cardano, and maybe throw in a layer 2 in there like Matic, right? Polygon, you know, I like that project. Maybe even some Chainlink, right? You know, if I were just getting into the space, I would buy a basket of that. And then again, some to I'm not saying all of them are going to do well, right? But if like I said, 3 of these layer 1 protocols, I think out of the 50 or so, they're going to wind up probably getting the most usage. And if they do well, those that do well are going to go up a lot more than where they are now. And then the ones that kind of fall by the wayside, it's okay if they go down because the other 3 that you bought have done so much more better.
You will have 3 home runs.
Yeah, yeah. So that's essentially what I do. I think that's probably the prudent way to look at it. And so, but what I'm leaving out here are some of the dApps essentially. There's so many dApps out there. It's so early on right now. I think the name of the game right at this point in time is the layer 1 protocols. It's like layer 1s are like operating systems, right? You have to get, you know, the iOS or what is it going to be? iOS or Android, or is it going to be, you know, some other operating system? And then those are the ones that are really trying to duke it out right now. And the apps that get built on these, they're ultimately going to determine who does well in the layer 1 protocol space. But right now, it's so early to tell. I think there's a lot more room to go in those apps. But right now, I'll focus on the later ones.
Yeah, probably the next 2 years, I think, is gonna be like a huge evolution in this ecosystem with new projects and everything, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface right now, and NFTs is getting a lot of press. But I mean, think of the things that you could do with this beautiful technology. Like, again, I think let's be frank. I think all IDs, national IDs, should be on this. I think mortgages should be on this. When I closed on, our apartment, the banker, they came with a stack of papers. It was like this high, because they did, it travels from one owner to the next owner to the next. It's just ridiculous. All these things could be digitized and put on a decentralized ledger. So these are we're just scratching the surface in terms of the number of applications that we'll see with going forward.
Yeah, I think like the project you mentioned is like the coupons. I think it's amazing, right? Because it's like probably like a common thing that the client, the people is like using in the real world, but they don't see like the back process of the coupons in Walmart and so on, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm telling you, it's. The number of applications are just huge, and people, they right now, again, it's just people just trade crypto. They're busy making, speculating off of it and yield farming, but that's not what it's all intended to use. There's so many other use cases for it, and only probably less than 20% of the people in crypto are actually focused on those use cases. That's going to change. When that changes, you're going to see a lot of different innovation going on. We're working on it right now, but it's just not really in the public's eye quite yet.
Yeah, I think I need a drink because you blow my mind all the time I speak with you. You blow my mind with all things. Yeah, and what advice will you give to a person who is starting in the crypto world right now?
As a career or as just a
probably if this new Guatemalan client is like let's see Bitcoin, or probably the people from El Salvador that they have the Bitcoin as a way of payment, right? But what advice would you give to a person who is starting?
Yeah,
maybe his investment or getting involved in the crypto world. Probably not in a career, right? Because at least I think in Latin America, there are not a lot of people getting involved in this kind of jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe people that they want to move the money from the bank to crypto world.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I mean, just get involved. That's the advice I would say. Get involved. And you can get involved by, like you said, just opening up a crypto wallet, buying some Bitcoin, small amounts, try moving some money, because it's not the easiest moving money from some of these Central American countries to wherever they need to get it to. So get involved, open up, just create a new account, download a wallet, and play with it. Now, this stage right now, it's so exciting, and you have to get involved because it's like being involved in the internet in the early stages, like in 1994, 1995. People, there's like companies like Lycos or Yahoo back then, or AOL. You remember that? And the companies now, they might not be the ones who actually make it. The ones that actually do really well or really just kill it in crypto might be the companies that come, later on, like Google. Google didn't really come into play until late 90s. And back then, Yahoo was the king in terms of search engine. So, there's always going to be new companies, new innovations happening. Get involved. Play around.
Yeah, Yahoo was the king, and people is like, what is Yahoo right now?
Yeah, what is Yahoo? It's like, I think they're just a media company. I get their news sometimes. I don't use them for a search engine, but Look at the big gap between Google and Yahoo back then, and look at where it was back in the late 90s when Google just started. So there's a lot of these types of changes in the world that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years, and get involved, whether through purchasing some crypto, whether it's going to work for a crypto project, or just move money yourself. Use crypto for your own use cases. Try to get involved as much as you can.
Yeah, and also probably getting involved is also doing research.
Doing research, have to.
Yeah, please don't get involved and follow a tweet of Elon and buy Dutch, right? That's not getting involved.
Yes. Have to do research. And the good thing is, everything in crypto is open, and there's a lot of information out there. A lot of projects are very transparent. So, doing the research, there's a lot of information out there for people to absorb. So that's good.
Perfect. This is gonna be a tough question, but if you have 5 minutes with Satoshi Nakamoto, what will you ask?
I kind of think I know who he is, but
really? Oh my God! That's awesome.
So what would I ask myself? But yeah, look, Satoshi, he revolutionized the world. I would ask,
and also John is Asian, so
I would ask him, why did you decide to be anonymous? Look, it creates a lot of mystery, a lot of mystique. He did, change the world. But I just want to understand his or her reasoning of why that person wanted to be anonymous. So look, guys like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they're out there in the press. We know who they are, and but this guy or girl maybe just didn't want to be the limelight, but maybe there's another reason. I don't know. I think that would be fascinating to understand what that reason would be. But yeah, it's it might be actually a group of people. Who knows? That's what they.
Yeah, probably.
Say, right?
Probably they are.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Probably you are part of the group.
Yeah. This guy is.
I'm gonna buy one of that one. That's amazing. Well, as you know, this podcast is all about crypto ocean, right? These huge different animals from the ocean. But if you can create an animal from the ocean, or if you can choose part of different animal from the ocean, what kind of animal you can create with this invention of the crypto ocean?
What kind of animal would I create in the crypto ocean? That's a good question. Maybe look, there's a lot of krakens out there. There's unicorns out there. But
unicorn in the ocean.
Yeah, well, Uniswap, and maybe you can throw some sushi in there too. So look, it's a good question. Look, I think if I had to say one animal in the ocean that really truly represents maybe what crypto is all about, it's probably the minnow, right, or a small fish, because there's hundreds of millions or billions of them, and this is what crypto is about. It's about every little guy out there that can use crypto to, if they want to speculate and make money off of it, they can do that. If they want to use it to pay the bills, they can do that. If they want to use it to, transfer their mortgage or home ownership, they can do that. It's about them. It's not about whales. And people use Bitcoin whales and whale terms too much. It's not about, we have whales in the traditional world. We have whales in the stock market. Let's get past the whales. It's about the little guy. So all those little hundreds of millions or billions of little fish that just are a together a big movement in the ocean. That's what crypto, I think, is, if you had to compare that to the ocean.
Thank you so much, Young. I enjoyed this time. But thank you for your time. Thank you for all your knowledge. As I was saying, I need a drink right now, and it's 4:30 p.m. here now in Guatemala. But I need a drink because you blow my mind with all this knowledge. Yeah, I have to go again. Probably soon. Yeah. I'm gonna be in Florida in 2 weeks, but maybe I can take a couple of days.
Come on, Matt.
But thank you for your time, Young. It was amazing having you here in the crypto ocean. I'm completely sure everybody is enjoying everything you said. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It was a lot of fun. And come on out. We'll go out to Tavern on the Green again together.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right.